Okay, we're going to look at running an association rules analysis using SAS. I already have a project and a diagram and library set up. So let's start with creating a data set. And the data set is Charles Book Club transactions. And this transactions data set must have at least two variables. One identifies the transaction ID, and the other, the items bought under the ID. So remember, given ID may buy more than one item. So when you have more than one item, you need to have multiple transactions, one transaction per item. So here item is book. So that should be changed to target. And then there is one more thing we have to do with the data source, and we have to change the role of the data source to transactions. If you don't change this, then you will run into an error. And if you get an error in the association node, then one of the reasons could be that you forgot to change the role from raw to transactions. Okay, now let's bring the book data source into the diagram. So let's look at the imported data. Let's browse. Okay, you see here we have one row for each book in the transaction. So if the transaction ID is same, then those books go together, or those items go together. So here 46 has 6 items, and these 6 items go together. SAS expects the transaction database to be set up in this fashion. All right, next is the association node, which is under explore. So association node, bring it in. And then here is where we set up the association parameters. Maximum items 4 means we want SAS to generate rules that will have a total of no more than 4 items. So that's both the left and the right hand side of the rule combined. So both the antecedent and consequent cannot exceed 4. So it will start from 2, then 3, and then 4, and that's it. No more than 4. You can change that to a higher number if you like. The maximum confidence is the maximum confidence that we need for a rule. So if 10 is the default, so any rule with a confidence less than 10 will not be included in the analysis. So you can change that to a higher number if you like. Now support type, you can set the support type to % or count. If you set to %, then the % will be visible. You can edit it. Count will be dimmed. If you change that to count, then % will be dimmed, and you can enter a value for count. So usually % is easier to set, and the default is 5%. So we will leave it at the default. So now let's go and run. At this point, if you get an error, is most likely error is that you did not set this data source as a transaction data source. Then you have to go back and change the, so like for example, you can go and change here the data source type. So here role, okay, if that is not transaction, then you have to go and set it to transaction. Now let's look at the results. All right, so here are the rules. Okay, if you expand that, and you see the rule is specified. So this is a rule with just 2 items, right? And here is a rule with 4 items. And since we had 4 for the maximum number of items, you're not going to see any rule that has more than 4 items in the rule. And it tells you what the left-hand side of the rule is, what the right-hand side of the rule is. Okay, and here are the statistics. So expected confidence, that's your benchmark confidence. So this is the confidence of the rule itself. So you're not going to see any rule with less than 10% confidence, because that's what we set as the minimum count. Now support, all right, and then the lift. Lift is confidence of the rule divided by the benchmark confidence. And it also tells you what is the transaction count for that. That will be the support for the rule. So you can copy paste this into Excel for further analysis. And SAS also gives you a couple of three other charts. So here is the statistics plot, where on the x-axis we have confidence of the rule, and on the y-axis we have support. Remember, we want high confidence and high support. So those are the rules that are very useful. For example, rules here. So these are the rules that are useful for us. So when you highlight these rules, and these charts highlight what those rules are. Now this one is a statistics plot, where there are 4 different statistics that are plotted. Lift is that one. Expected confidence, that's your benchmark confidence. And then confidence percentage, and then support percentage. Okay. And here the rules are, the left hand side of the rule are listed here, the right hand side of the rule are listed here, and then the actual rules are plotted in this plot.